So in the last couple of weeks, a lot of people, not just on the left, but even on the right, they have been criticizing Trump for the trade war with Canada, the war in Ukraine, basically everything Trump has done. A lot of people, especially on the right, have criticized him for every single thing and claimed that, oh, nothing he's done has worked at all. It's all a disaster. The Orange Man is bad. The Democrats were right. And I'm not going to say that I was agreeing with these people because a lot of them, they're full of crap. They're making stuff up. But at the same time, I will admit that I was starting to get a bit hesitant over Trump's policies. I was starting to think maybe they're not going to work. Maybe it's going to hurt us in the short term and have no real benefit in the long term. But now I believe that what Trump has done the last couple of weeks will work. And the last 2 to 3 hours has been possibly the best stretch in this presidency. Now, let's start with what happened earlier today. Now, for those that live under a rock, the Premier of Ontario, Canada, Doug Ford, who is a loser, by the way, he was saying Canada will cut off all electricity to the United States, right? Our best friends, these are supposedly our best friends, the ones that will support us no matter what, they are saying, if you don't reduce your tariffs now, we're going to cut off all electricity to the United States.
Let me be clear. I will not hesitate to increase this charge. If necessary, if the United States escalates, I will not hesitate to shut the electricity off completely.
Yeah, that's what Doug Ford said, right? That guy was actually saying, we're going to cut off electricity to the United States. And by the way, the region that would be impacted the most by this would be a part of the country that deals with shitty weather, that deals with cold weather. So if there's a blizzard or it gets very cold or whatever, they could be directly impacting those Americans. And Trump immediately responded with this. Based on Ontario, Canada placing a 25% tariff on electricity coming into the United States, which, by the way, that's what they started with. They said, we're going to have a 25% tariff, and then they escalated. They said, now we're going to cut off all electricity to the U.S. Now, Trump said, I have instructed my Secretary of Commerce to add an additional 25% tariff to 50% on all steel and aluminum coming into the United States and Canada, one of the highest tariffing nations anywhere in the world. This will go into effect tomorrow morning. Yeah. When Trump put out this statement, everyone was losing their shit. Everyone was saying, oh, this is the beginning of an escalated trade war. We're going to have 100% tariffs by the end of the month. Canada's not going to back down. It's going to escalate even further. Well, just a little while ago, it appears that Canada has finally bent the knee, as Canada has agreed to suspend the 25% tariff into the United States for electricity.
Until we sit down over the next day or two, I'll be heading down to Washington along with Dominic LeBlanc, and we'll have a good discussion.
Yeah. They talked a big game. We're going to cut off your electricity. We're going to tariff you at 25%. And the millisecond Trump says, okay, you know what? Screw you guys. Here is a 50% tariff on steel, on aluminum, big things in Canada. They immediately folded. That's Canada, by the way. They talk a big game. Like Justin Trudeau, he talked a big game every single day. But in reality, these people bend the knee just by saying, no, here's a 25% tariff. No, a 50% tariff on your aluminum. Deal with it. And Canada finally bent the knee. Now, the fact it took them this long is kind of ridiculous. But guys, Canada cannot compete with the United States. They just can't. This idea that magically Canada can compete economically is insane. Like the United States, we don't need Canada. All we can just do is produce more stuff here or look for other trade partners. That's what we have to do. Canada, they need America. They need America to survive economically. This was stupid that they even considered the idea of tariffing America. I mean, that's just insane. And the funny thing is, now they're bending the knee. So the question is, what was the point? What was the point of this show of force? We're going to cut off your electricity. And then 5 minutes later, you bend the knee? Really? All because Trump said, here's a 50% tariff. So it turns out, yeah, tariffs work. This idea that they never worked. Listen, I understand that they could lead to increases in prices. I understand that. But at the same time, it's like, This idea that tariffs are this real bad thing is ridiculous. Tariffs are meant for situations like this to A, produce more stuff here, and B, if a country like Canada acts up, we're going to say, here's a 50% tariff unless you knock it off. And that's exactly what Canada did. They bent the knee. I mean, this was within like 10 minutes of Trump saying this. But okay, the trade war with Canada, yeah, a lot of people are talking about it, but it's not like the biggest thing in the world. It's not like what's happening with inflation. And by the way, we have new inflation numbers, and listen, the Democrats were banking basically everything in the kitchen sink on inflation staying horrible. They pretended inflation was never an issue, but the millisecond Trump got in there, they were banking everything on the idea that, yeah, inflation is awful, it's record high rates, you know, the Orange Man caused this. That's what they were banking on. Well, guess what? It looks like their entire narrative surrounding inflation has just collapsed, as we have new numbers on egg prices. And look at that. On January 20th, right? I should say pre-January 20th, you know, before Trump became president, eggs costed $6.12 per dozen. Remember how Democrats, they were saying, this is Trump's economy. He has caused eggs to go up by $50. That's what they were claiming. When in reality, no. What happened was Biden killed a bunch of chickens in 2024. And that caused a skyrocket increase in prices of eggs. That's what happened. Well, guess what? For the first time in many months, egg prices went down a lot. And in fact, this number has actually been outdated because the newest number, I believe it's like $5.50 a dozen. So it's the lowest it has been in months, the prices of eggs. The Democrats, they were banking everything on this. They were claiming egg prices will go up to $30. Tariffs will cause, 80% inflation. But in reality, no. Trump's policies are actually decreasing the egg prices, which I know you could argue that's because it killed all the chickens and that was bound to happen. But either way, this idea that Trump's policies were going to cause egg prices to go up, and this idea that they caused them to go up in the first place is insane. But that's what Democrats were banking on. They really thought that if they gaslit enough people into thinking that egg prices are bad because of Trump, they would win. Well, guess what? It's been, 2 months? Not even. It's been a month and a half, and already egg prices are going down to what they were beforehand. And there's a good chance that if these policies keep up, it could go down even lower. I'm not saying it's going to go down like the 50 cents or whatever, but if Trump's policies really do work in the long run, I mean, there's a chance that, yeah, egg prices could go down to like, I don't know, $2, $1, which compared to the last like year and a half or so would be very cheap. And that's why this was a complete disaster for Dems. This is such a bad look because they were saying this is Trump's economy. Trump caused the increase in egg prices, but now it's going down. What are you going to say? This is Biden's economy? Biden single-handedly saved egg prices when he hasn't been president for a year and a half now? Or I should say a month and a half? But that's what Democrats wanted to do, and now it's not going to work. And in fact, speaking of inflation, look at this. We have new inflation numbers from US with Truflation, which for those that don't know, Truflation is a new inflation index. It's not perfect. It's not like it's exactly in line with the CPI or whatever. But the point is, they tend to be very accurate. And ever since Trump won, inflation has gone way down. On January 20th, 2025, inflation was at roughly 3%. Now, it is down to 1.5%. Yeah, in just like a month and a half. According to Truflation, they tend to be very accurate. The inflation has gone down in half in just 1 month, just in 2 months. Guys, I'm not saying that's for sure going to happen. The CPI will come out soon. But the point is, it's looking like despite what people were claiming, like, oh, the tariffs are going to cause record high inflation, in reality, no. Inflation's actually going way down. And the policies are actually working. Which, for a lot of people, this might be shocking because we were all told that inflation would go up to 80% because tariffs are bad. And that egg prices would go up to $13. But it's not, right? It looks like right now, on the economic front, Trump's Trump's actually winning. He's actually doing a good job, and it looks like he's doing exactly what he wanted to do. Stabilize the economy, get inflation down, and especially stuff like egg prices, because that was such a bad look. Like, oh, $6 for a dozen eggs, or $8 actually. That's awful. But now it's down to 5.5, which is still a lot, but it's going down. But of all the things that Trump did today, which again, this is all the good stuff. These are good numbers. This is good news for Trump across the board. The biggest development came out of Saudi Arabia. As a little while ago, it appears that Ukraine has agreed to a 30-day ceasefire with Russia, and Washington will lift the pause on Ukraine aid and intel sharing. Yeah, this broke a little while ago. It looks like after months of speculation, a lot of people criticizing Trump for how he dealt with Zelensky, which that was a whole psyop. I mean, seriously, people were making a big deal that, oh, Zelensky was in the right, Trump was immature, when in reality, no. Zelensky was the one that was acting like a clown. And even then, Zelensky apologized. He apologized to Trump for the way he acted, which should tell you everything. But the point is, just a little while ago, it appears that Ukraine has agreed to a ceasefire, at least for 30 days. And now Russia must agree to it. Now, will they? I don't know. But now Russia has no leverage here. They have to agree with it, because if they don't, everyone's going to say, you don't want a ceasefire. You're full of shit. But so Russia, more than likely, is going to agree to a ceasefire for 30 days. And at that point, it sounds like for the next 30 days, they're going to work on a permanent deal. Get a deal done once and for all, so we have no more killing. That's the whole point of this 30-day ceasefire. Give us time to get a permanent deal done. I mean, if Trump could actually do this, where inflation goes down, which it looks like it is, if he could end the trade war with Canada with major wins, and the biggest thing, in my opinion, is end the war in Ukraine. Okay, because that might be the easiest thing to do early on. End the war in Ukraine. If he does even one of those three things, I believe his approval will go back up. It's down to like 50-50 right now. It might go back up to like 52-48. But if he really accomplishes all three in a couple months, gets inflation under control, get the economy booming, actually four things, get the trade war dealt with, and if he can end the war in Ukraine, if he can accomplish all four of these things, he might have a record high approval, at least in modern history. Like, I'm not saying he gets like 80%, but compared to like Biden and Obama's second term, maybe he cracks like 56%, maybe cracks 57%. Maybe a lot of people are saying, you know what, I did not like Trump, but he ended the war in Ukraine. He got inflation under control. He dealt with the trade war brilliantly. He got everything we wanted, and we got the economy stable. If he does all four of those things, and again, it's not going to happen tomorrow, but there's a good chance that his numbers could go way up. And I'm shocked that it's actually going this fast. I thought that this recovery economically and all of that would have taken a year. But it sounds like the first bit of indicators are showing maybe the recovery is a lot faster. Maybe the recovery is in a couple of months. Maybe the war in Ukraine ends shortly, which it may end today. We don't know. But the point is, this is one of the best days Trump has ever had as president. It was a top day for him because it looks like every single thing he did, it worked. It did not blow up in his face. In fact, he got nothing but big wins across the board. Now, we got to see how the trade war goes. We got to see what happens with Ukraine. But if you're Trump, you have to be happy with this. You have to be happy with the fact that it looks like you're going to accomplish all of your main goals in the first couple of weeks. But anyways, folks, thank you so much for watching. If you guys did enjoy, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, and of course, join the channel today. Godspeed to all of you.